Welcome to Agoracom Best of the Best Small Cap Stock TV. This is our weekly show where we summarize our picks through the week, what Alan has seen online through the best press releases of the week, and summarize them all here. I'm George Cholis, founder of Agoracom, and with us, as I mentioned earlier, is Alan Barry Laboucan, our chief market commentator. Alan, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Great to see everyone. Thanks for joining us. We missed last week. George was down on holidays.
Vacation. Yep.
But we're back in the saddle in the summertime here. You know, George, just now that I said the summertime, it made me think. There's a couple times of the year where I get really excited because of seasonality. We did really well when we picked a bunch of stocks in December. And I'm seeing a similar seasonality thing towards the end of August. So we're kind of moving towards that, something like that as well.
Well, we did really well last summer. We did really well again last Christmas. And here we are in summer again. So, hey, these are patterns, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you don't have to make the market harder than it is, and you got to go with those patterns. So we got a great show. We got some great things to talk about. We got some stock picks. We got a mini challenge that Al and I are going to go through and talk to you about right now. And we're going to have our big challenge, our massive stock challenge next week. We're going to call that our summer challenge, where we make our group of picks as to what we think is really low here in August and what's going to come screaming back in the fall. So without further ado, let me get to a list here. So I'm going to do my screen share. And as always, show you the list of what we're going to be talking about. Alan, let me know when the screen share comes up. All right, you should see the screen right now.
I do.
All right, so you see here the list of companies we're going to talk today. We got Twitter, BlackBerry, Air Canada, BSM, Denison, New Gold, Dow Rating, Klondex, and Almaden. So let's talk about the first two, Twitter and BlackBerry. I went online just the other day on Twitter, ironically enough, on Twitter, and said, I'm going long Twitter. I think it's going to be a mega winner. This is not a short-term trade or anything like that. This is something that I said is going to be a monster winner over the next 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, you said by the time the Super Bowl.
By the Super Bowl, it's going to be a double. That's a big call, but if you remember, a lot of you may not remember, I made a monster call on Tesla last April at 41.50, where I said it's going to go on a multi-year run, buy as much as you can, and look where it is today. Mind you, I didn't think it was going to be where it is today that fast, so I'm not calling the same thing for Twitter. But I just think Twitter, if you can see the small chart here to my right, this is just a small one for now. IPO, big run, back to reality, not unlike Facebook, and here we are again. And guys, I'm telling you, this thing is going right here. All right, it's going to go up 70. It's going to go to $78. And why am I saying that, guys? Because we are going into Twitter season. What's happening? You got the NFL coming, NHL, NBA, and all the new TV shows are starting all up again. Twitter is going to be hot, and it's going to be on everybody's mind. Money's going to continue to flow to it, and I just think this is the global communications platform, period. So you can't lose at these numbers unless there's a major macro event that affects the entire planet like 2008. No one's going to get in the way of that. So I'm making my call right now. I bought Twitter at 44.06. I'm going to add on another position at some point. I bought a half position. I'm going to add another position soon, and that's my call. Now, Alan came in.
When George
made talk about what you did. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So George made that call on Twitter. And, you know, me being the competitive kind of guy that I am, I looked at it and I said, well, I'd rather take BlackBerry than your Twitter. This turned into one of our challenges again. George and I sometimes we look at things like this a little differently, and we like to create challenges. And so I suggested a challenge. Now, my thinking on BlackBerry, why I like BlackBerry is because I like these big tech turnaround stories, and John Chen, I think, is doing a wonderful job at turning BlackBerry around. One thing that I think you'll see them get a little less into the focus of their business being on devices, making smartphones and stuff like that, and they're going to put more of their effort into the enterprise software solutions. BlackBerry, not a lot of people understand this, but BlackBerry has the most secure smartphone for an enterprise. That's a really big thing. And that enterprise is where lots of people have money. So it's a tech turnaround for me. I like it long term and short term. And that's why when George said his thing about Twitter, I challenged him right away, and I said I think BlackBerry will perform better in that time frame. So that got us into a contest, and now our traditional terms of our contest are during one of the upcoming shows after the contest is over, which will be on Super Bowl Sunday, the other person has to explain just how brilliant the winner was. And we've added another element. George is so confident that he also suggested that we have to put the same kind of thing on Twitter. So there's a lot riding on the line here.
There's a lot riding on it. So that's our small contest. We'll talk more about our big contest later on about what we're going to do for the fall here, the summer picks for the fall. But let's go into some of the stock picks.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep them about 2 minutes each, so we'll work through them pretty quickly.
Yeah. So let me here's the first I'm going to show you right now. Okay. And let me know, Alan, when this comes up, but it should be coming up right here. This is my Air Canada. You can see in the top left-hand corner.
Got it.
All right. Air Canada. First of all, I don't like the company very much at all. I avoid the company when I can, but that's just a bias. But my money doesn't share the same bias that I do. And here's what I found. The company just announced record Q2 earnings. Monster numbers, fantastic numbers. Everything was great. They did announce that their yield, which is their revenue per seat, should be down a little bit in the future, but way oversold. Look what it's done. It's fallen about 20% since then. From the $10 range, it's $8.02 right now. Now, here's why I'm bullish about it for two reasons. Take a look at the Bollinger Bands, all right, that are at the bottom here at 770 at 794, and the 200-day moving average, which you can see right here. Okay, you can see this orange right here, which has not been broken. Let me just hide this button here, which hasn't been broken. I'm going to go back 2 years and see. All right, look at the 200-day moving average right here. Okay, doesn't get broken. So that's coming up as support. I figured this is a slam dunk buy right here just on technicals. They had record Q2, so the business is going well. Canadian economy, everything's going fine. I think there's a definite buy with a very, very tight stop below the 200-day moving average. So if it closes below 778, you got to sell. Okay, so that's got to be your line in the sand. Otherwise, I love this pick. Alan, your thoughts?
Couple things that make me nervous about that chart of yours there, George, is that you see the last time the Bollinger Bands tightened up, and whenever you see the Bollinger Bands tighten up like that, you want to look at it as an inflection point. Which way is it going to go? Well, right after it went through that inflection point, it went to the downside pretty aggressively.
Sure. Yeah.
The other thing that worries me is your MACD looks like it's getting weaker, not stronger. And so, those are a couple things, but I don't really follow the company at all. These are just purely technical analysis reasons of what makes me nervous.
Well, let me show you some text. Yeah, so you have some merit there because nothing is ever 100% pick. So I'm gonna finish off these last 2 minutes by showing this. Yes, the MACD. This is what Alan was talking about here. Is getting weaker. All right. So the blue line is that's the MACD is below the signal line. But here's contra to that. The 9-day relative strength RSI is now 18.8. Anything below 20 is oversold. The stochastics. The percentage D on the stochastics are 4.99. This is about as low as you can get, right? So those two are kind of overriding for me, and that's why I like it here as a technical buy. But if it does break that 778 and close at 770, so I'd probably even set a hard stop loss. Set a hard stop loss of 765 or something like that. So you can lose 35 cents or make $1.50 on this. That's like a 4-to-1, almost 5-to-1 on
So
my money.
that
Great risk reward.
that moving that gets you down to the 200, right? If it breaks the 200, is what you're saying?
Right, right. The 200 is set, and it's held for so long. You can look at this line that, I'm gonna continue to have faith in that number. So it's got to go below 770 because I'll give it 8 cents of wiggle room just in case you have a bit of a down dip. But below 770 out, so you can lose 25, 30 cents, but you can definitely make a buck 50 to $2 on this, and it's Air Canada, pretty stable. So I like that. Next, so next up is one more of my picks, which is one of my favorites. BSM Technologies GPS. You can see that chart just come up here, Alan?
Yep.
All right. So same deal. I've been a big fan of this. Made another great run. So we picked it last year. All right. Had this fantastic run here.
Yeah, actually, that fantastic run started about 6 months before that.
Yeah, but I'm right. Yeah, but we started the show in July 2013. Right. This is the August here, so this is where we picked around 2, made a fantastic run, went sideways, and then they had a bit of a dip, had a great recovery right here. I thought everything was normal, but then they announced the massive financing that the market, we won't talk about it again. The market just didn't digest it well. For some reason, they don't like it. I thought it was great, and since then it's been having some trouble. It's below $2, which I think is a key psychological point. So it could fall, which is why I'm setting a stop loss here of $1.80. Very, very tight stop. So again, you can lose 15 cents on this, but you could have 50, 60, 70 cents the upside. It's the end of the summer. That's why I like this pick a lot. The risk reward is great. We got a strong fundamental business behind it, as Alan knows. So for those reasons, this is a definite buy. I'm going to take a look here. RSI is at 27 on the 9-day. The stochastic percentage D is at 24. So everything tells me it's near it may not be the absolute bottom, but it's near the bottom.
George,
$1.85, $1.80. Sorry.
It's got to be near the bottom. Look at all the red candles over the last month or so. That stock is dramatically oversold, as far as I'm concerned.
You want to bring up a chart that shows your candles?
Yeah, I like this. I like this chart a lot, George. Here, let me get onto a screen share, and I'll get it up there. Right now, I've got DML up there, but I'll get GPS. Just give me a second. Yeah, when they get oversold like that, you can see all the red days, eh? And so, can you see my chart now, George?
Yep, I can see it.
Look at all these red candle, bigger red candle, bigger red candle, bigger red candle, one green day. It's just had a preponderance of red days in a row, and whenever they get like that, that's not fundamental. They would go down more aggressively if it was fundamental, George. They'd just fall right out of bed. But no, this one looks to me like it's right at an oversold position and ready to turn to the upside.
We'll take a look at all your red candles in June there, June, July, where it just seemed like, and then from $2 straight up to $2.50, $2.60 there.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, here was another period, a bunch of red days, and then it broke the trend when it got oversold. I think we're in a similar situation here, bunch of red days, and it actually tried to turn around. That the MACD looks like it wants to turn more positive too. Not above the positive line yet, but it's sort of like this thing here, right, where it turns around and starts to go from being negative up much more positive. So yeah, I like this pick a lot, George.
All right, so let's get on to your picks now. So you're gonna lay out yours. I'll go through them while you bring up your chart on your end. Sure. We've got your next pick is Denison Mine, so you can see it on my screen here. DML on the TSX. Let's first look at liquidity because that's important for me. DML does about 700,000 shares a day on average trading at $1.40. Bam, you talk about a company doing pretty much $1 million a day in liquidity, so you got to like that. It was down on Friday a couple of points. Now I've seen it picked a couple of times. Hedgehog Traders picked it. He picked it about $1.20, $1.30. I believe the guy that speaks over at Stockhouse also picked it. So it's been coming up a lot lately, and you're the third guy, and in my books, the most important guy. So what is about Denison Mines that's got you going?
Well, thanks for saying that, George. And this is kind of this is a surprising pick for me. I'll tell you why, George. This company has a half a billion shares out, so I'm always careful whenever I get a company with a half a billion shares out. Now, having said that, I think it's important to realize that this is a uranium producer, and they've got exploration potential as well. And what gets me excited is the exploration potential. They just had some really good news out from their Wheeler River project in Saskatchewan. It's a super high grade system of uranium. But actually, this one, you know, George, I'm usually a fundamental first and then stock chart. But I just saw something that I really, really like here in this chart. Look
higher highs, higher lows.
Yeah.
It's screaming at you.
Is that not screaming at you?
Screaming at you. Higher
Right?
highs, higher lows. Higher
That's
highs,
like-
higher lows.
That's
After
like
that massive drop off from $1.90, and it looks like it's just climbing the wall of word right back.
Yes, that's a classic sort of chart for me, George. So I just couldn't ignore it, and that's why I picked it.
Hey, what's your purple line? What is that? 100-day or 200-day? 50?
Purple is 100-day.
Well, look at that. All right, so it's coming up on. It already broke through. Looks like you're 50, or looks like you're 200 first, and
Yeah, the red is 50. The green is 200.
Right. And now it looks like it wants to go through the last one right there. If it gets through that, we could be off to the races.
That's what it. Yeah, no, that's a good call there, George. I didn't notice the merging of the various different moving averages, but I like that too. You know, when they converge. Yeah. Unfortunately, in this one we can't really see back here. You got to go, but look at when they kind of start squeezing together. Boom, took off after that.
Yeah, when you see all your moving averages converge that way, that tells me a lot. That tells me a lot. So I'm big on this pick. I think it's a great pick.
Good. Let's move to the next one.
All right. Next one here is New Gold. NGD trades on the TSX again. $6.83 stock. I like that. Look at that. Pretty much a million shares a day. So this liquidity is phenomenal. You can get in and out of this all you want all day long. What is it you like about New Gold?
You know, this is another one that it's a stock chart that I see that really gets me excited. Now, on the fundamentals, this is a multi-mine producer. They're a mid-tier producer that I think has a phenomenal growth prospects ahead of them. Really well-known, well-run company by a lot of top mining executives. And so it's a really well-run company, good projects, but this stock chart here got me really intrigued. This is your classic sort of cup kind of formation, and now you've got your handle, and that's a very bullish situation there. And as I see, you know, what I'm looking for when I see the handle is some sort of a sign that there's going to be an upwards bias starting. And I think that's what we're seeing right here. You see this low candlestick right here, George? Got down to 640 that day and closed higher. And then the next day opened up stronger. And it's had a better performance since that low day. So I'm getting a feeling that this is the period where you've gone through the handle and now you're ready to go to the upside again. And it coincides with my sort of call on gold. I think that we're getting into a season where we'll see stronger gold prices, and so you look to a real good company like a New Gold. And if you want it as a trade, this is the Canadian volume. It also trades down in the States as well. So it has a great combination of everything for you there, George, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, you can almost, if you draw a straight line at the recent bottoms that try to test at 660 on your chart, and then draw a slightly descending triangle line from the three tops it's made, it's wedging. So I don't know if you want to show that in a second. It's wedging, and I think it's gonna break out of that. Let me show it before you do that. Why don't you go ahead and do that right now? Why don't you show everybody?
Okay, so what George is talking about here, folks, is this. As you can see, you've got a top here, 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 and then you've got, I guess you could say from about here, George? So
Actually,
this
I'd go back to that first one in June.
over here,
No, 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 higher up.
there.
No, one more. Just keep going right up. There.
There.
That's where the first, you got that first 660. So you've had 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of 660, starting from there, and that's fantastic actually, because it's going to wedge, and a wedge usually is fantastic.
Oh, I messed up my stop. Sorry, I got my
So
things messed up.
while you're getting that, I'm going to show everybody what I'm seeing here, which is also, so to take a look at everybody, see all these lines here, the moving averages. Okay, look how they're all bunched up in here, and let me read them off for you. The 12 days at 679, the 20 days at 675, the 50 days at 671. And you got the 20-day at 678. They're all bunched up in here. That tells me it's got fantastic support right below the 683. And with this wedging that's kind of going on here,
Here,
I
I
might be
was
able
able
to.
to do it, George. Now you
All
can
right, so
see it.
let's go back to you, and you can show us the
Yeah.
there you go, that wedging that's going on right there. I think this is gonna bust right out.
As George is saying that, you can see here's the top line of it, here's the bottom line of it. So this is another kind of inflection point, and you're looking, well, what's the direction that's coming out of that? I always look a little bit further back to sort of, once I get these kind of actions, I look a little further back and see, well, what happened just prior to that sideways action? And this was a bullish move. That often is an indicator of what you're going to see happen when you come out of that sideways action.
But having said that, I'd set a stop loss at 630 or so. If it closed below 630, you vacate the position. But technically, it's setting up pretty strong.
Sounds good.
All right, moving on to our next one here. So let me kill this screen.
The next one is our friends from Ireland, George.
Our good old friends DNA. So I'll bring up the basic stats there. Here it comes. So DNA trades on the TSX. Our good friends, I bought them last year at 60, made a little bit of money on them. Should have held them longer, but they got to like the persistence of this company. Fantastic. So TSX company closed at 86 cents on Friday. Does 180,000 shares a day in volume. So you're talking about $140,000 or so in $50,000 in daily volume. That's pretty good if you need to get in and out. You picked Dalradian a number of times. What is it you like about Dalradian? Or is this just a continued? Is this just a continued pounding the table call on it?
Well, it's actually a combination, George. I'm not sure if you're seeing my screen, but they just completed a $27 million bought deal financing that originally started at 20 cents. Or sorry, started at 20 million. It got bumped up to 27 million. It was oversubscribed, and they did it at 90 cents per share. So we're 4 cents under that price, and now they've got tons of money to go out there and work on their project.
Flow through or straight equity?
No, this is Ireland, George. They can't use flow through there.
Oh, I figured maybe because it was a TSX company, maybe they're governed by the OSC, but no flow through regardless.
No, flow through is only available to companies that are exploring in Canada.
Ah, okay. I thought that's right. My apologies about that.
So then you look at this combination. Then you look at the chart. Just a beautiful chart, George.
It is.
Higher highs, higher lows, continuous. Now it's come off here a bit, so that now you got to ask yourself, well, is this chart broken?
No, you know why that's down though, right? That's the bought deal. They brought it down to 9%.
Exactly.
Sometimes you get walked down just because the finance guys say, hey, we want a little better term. We're not going to buy on that spike at $1.05.
I agree.
They say, all right, let's do it at 90. And now that it's done, when did it get closed?
just in the last July 31st, 2 weeks ago.
All right. All right. Yeah, I would say if big money bought it at 90 cents, forget about charts, forget about fundamentals. When $27 million comes flying at you at 90 cents, you got to go with it. Okay.
Well,
it doesn't mean that they're right, but they can't be. Chances are their due diligence is going to outdo whatever you and I can figure out in the next 30 seconds.
And in addition to that, George, adding to that, you have a combination of a good stock chart and a good project, and now big money throwing money at the project. Good all around. It's got a great combination.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's a definite go. That's an all-out buy on Monday. No doubt about it.
You did that last time too, George. When I picked the first time, I think it was down around 60 cents or something like that.
So that's a buy on Monday, and I bought it.
And you did good on it too.
Yep, that's a buy again.
Good, I like that.
Next up is Klondex Mines, KDX. TSX company, 205s were closed on Friday. Does 275,000 shares in volume. So that means we're talking about a company doing $550,000 a day. You picked Klondex before, so what's going on there now?
Yeah, Klondex, it's had a really good year. You look down here, last October, trading at about $1, I want to say about $1.40. Had a really good move up to 224. This is an emerging producer, George. They're in the early stages of moving from producer status or from exploration focused company to being a producer, and they're doing that in Nevada. I love projects in mining friendly jurisdictions, George. I like it when they have a good profile. They just recently had some really good results out, and this wasn't drill results. This was actually where they're drifting into the vein, and they're hitting 126 grams per ton of gold over 1.1 meters. In the business, we call that a jewelry box, George. And when you hit into a jewelry box, you make a lot of money. And that's they've got a high grade system there. Then you look at the chart, and it's just been a really, when you consider how tough this year has been for a lot of mining companies, look at the performance of this company. I think that this is subdued relative to the good things that they have going on with the fundamentals. And so, we're coming out of a period here where it's been going sideways. I think the MACD is getting ready to get a little more positive. We're at, a couple of moving averages. There's the 50-day. It's just slightly above the 100-day. The 20-day and the 50-day are pretty close. I'm looking at this as an inflection point, George, and I'd like its chances to go up from here. You there, George?
Sorry, I accidentally muted my microphone there for a second.
Oh.
And I got to tell you, I want to take a look at there was something I was looking at here that I thought was really strong. You see my KDX chart here?
No, it's still the multi-screen.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it here.
No, yep, there it is.
All right, I have it now. Sorry, guys, because I'm working at home. I don't have my double screens. I only have my one laptop. What's really been strong, and it might show up even stronger on yours, is, again, the 200-day moving average. So I'm going to go back 2 years. Okay? The 200-day is this line right here. Wow. So last year was the first time, this 200-day broke, right? So it was right around here where it had some trouble. And when is that? 7-11, right during the time when Alan and I said everything got way too cheap. Take a look at the 200-day moving average since then. Don't pay attention to the crosshairs. Pay attention to my arrow. Look at that. The 200-day has remained unbroken. Even when it got close to a little bit of trouble right here, the 200-day held. So that's powerful. That tells me that investors are just not going to let this go cheap at all. You tie that in with what Alan's saying about the fundamentals, that it's an emerging gold producer. And the only thing that breaks this, I've seen these kind of charts before, the only thing that breaks this is these kind of macro bad events when things are just out of control, or something really big, something at the company that could change significantly that we don't know about. Otherwise, I'd be a strong buyer here. I love how tight the Bollinger Bands are. 211 on the top, $2 on the bottom. That's super tight. That's super, super, super tight. I'm buying this. I'll set a stop loss right here at this level. Looks like
Look
about
at
a dollar.
that, George. Every time it hits the tightening of the Bollinger Bands, it blasts up.
This is a big buy. This is and you got this nice dollar. You got this nice $1.80 ranges that you can set as your stop loss. This $1.85 is your stop loss with the 200 days. So that's a big buy on Monday also. I say you definitely make that buy if you're watching this.
Woo! This is a good one, George. I don't think you've agreed with me this much. I don't think we've had 2 or 3 Monday morning gotta buys.
Well, you know why, right? So let me kill the chart there. But you know why? Because we've got August. It's August, and there are a lot of great deals out there that just make sense.
That's why we're doing that contest.
Yeah, I mean this is just a fantastic. I think that's a fantastic buy right there. So how can I argue with that, especially when you back it up with the fundamentals, right? That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go down to what I think might be your last one.
Yes, it is.
All right, and this is Almaden, AMM on the TSX, closed at $1.62 on Friday. 56,000 shares in volume. You know what I'm going to say about that? That's basically $100,000 a day, which isn't horrible. I've seen a lot worse, to be quite frank. But, something that you have to be aware of, especially when it only does 3,000 shares in a day. Nonetheless, though, there hasn't been one situation where Allen's picked a low-volume stock that didn't do very well over the next 6 months, and Almaden is one of those, actually. So I'm just going to point it out. I used to really get on you about that, but now I'm just going to point it out and leave it at that. So there's a small chart on Almaden right there.
Due to the remarkable correlation between you arguing with me about those low-volume traders and them always going up.
Yeah, you almost got to buy them now.
Now, don't forget, George, this one also trades in the New York Stock Exchange.
Was it AMM.US?
No, it's AAU.
AAU. So let me bring that up, because in all fairness.
I think I'm going to give you a little bit of break there.
Well, over there it does 180,000 shares a day. So now, actually you're talking about a company doing, $260,000, $70,000 a day volume, which is way better. I always keep forgetting that. So what is it about Almaden that you're liking right now?
Okay, well, Almaden just had some drill results out from their project down in Mexico, and they hit some really nice numbers, George. 14 meters of 4.43 grams per ton gold and 9.5 grams per ton silver. They had a bunch of other good drill results out there. Almaden has more than one project. They've got 2 or 3 that I like. And so, there's your fundamental story. They're working hard right now. They'll have a bunch more results out. Then I looked at the stock chart, George, and this is a gentle sort of, it's not a cup type of formation. It's more like a saucer. And why I like the second half of the saucer is because it gets what I call this upwards bias. It's not where you can clearly see that, okay, yeah, that thing is starting to trend upwards. But you just look at the bottom side of it, right, George? And you see these lines here. The bottom of each day, the candle is going up, the wick is going up, and then you look, and now we're starting to see it break above the 20-day, the 50-day, the 100-day, the 200-day. I love that. And then you got the MACD here starting to get more positive. Almaden, I like this pick a lot. I think it's got a lot of what I like to see. I really want to see how it looks on your Bollinger Bands there, George, because I don't use Bollinger Bands as much, but I think I'm going to make it part of my standard screen.
Oh yeah, well here they are right here, $1.63 on the $1.66 on the upside and $1.43 on the downside. And what Bollinger Bands are deviate. In other words, the range based on. So Bollinger Band are 2 standard deviations, which is 2 moves outside of it. That's hard to explain, but let me try it on the next one, okay? But it's very reliable. It's very, very reliable.
It gives you a range. What it basically gives you
a range based on its volatility. Sorry, that's exactly what it's a range based on 2 times its volatility.
Yeah.
and where it should be within. Now, the one, technically, I'm not crazy about the fact that it's at the top of its band, because you can see $1.62, it's at the top of its band. So it takes a lot to break through these bands. But that in and of itself is not enough to dissuade me. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not saying no to it, but for me, the relative strengths are around 60. The stochastics, the percentage D is over 80, which typically is overbought. So, good for a long-term pick. As a trader, it's not for me right now, but as a long-term pick, you've been dead on with these things, so it's hard to say no, especially given the fact that you picked this, right here last year, so it's had some good runs, and every time picked it's had some good runs, so it's hard for me to argue with that. But fundamentally, it sounds like you've got a great pick.
I like it a lot.
All right. That sums up the show, guys. We're
Yep.
going to work on this format, and I'm going to turn off my screen share here in a second. So we're going to work on a format where we can find a way to put a stop clock up and kind of copy the Pardon the Interruption sportscast that takes place in the U.S., where they talk about every topic for 2 minutes, so we can keep moving really fast. But thanks for joining us. Hopefully you have some great picks. Oh, by the way, as we always say, how about our disclaimer, Alan? Why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Okay, I'll do the disclaimer, which is before making any investment decisions, it's important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors, and we are just a idea generator. We don't know what your individual trading, your individual portfolios are like. We're trying to get your ideas, and that's what we're all about. But we always want to preface with doing your homework, speaking with your financial advisors, and don't forget to put your stop losses in whenever you make a trade. Having said that, now we gotta let people know about our big upcoming contest next week. I wrote an article while you were away, George, and it was about a stock that I thought was ready to go, a tech stock called Glue Mobile. And it was one of the first reports I've written in years, actually, George. I used to do all my commentary through emails for a few years. And the last few years I've been doing mostly video. I've been doing my commentary this way. But for old time's sake, it was the summertime. I saw something happen in the market that I really liked Glue Mobile, so I sent out an email blast. But I also let people know that I'm seeing some trends in gold and gold stocks that I'm really liking, so I'm going to prepare a list of picks. Well, that also got me thinking that because of the seasonality, it's time for you and me to do one of our contests again, where we pick a half a dozen stocks or a handful of stocks, and we see how they do in a short time frame. So I'm suggesting that we start one in the last week of August and end it maybe the end of October, make it a Halloween contest. And,
maybe even November, but maybe October 31st is better. We'll know by then who's running and who's not. Yeah, I think you're right. End of October, Halloween. That'll be perfect. We could work at all sorts of costume stuff for that show.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to being able to once again. It's been many times in our contest that I've been able to wear this golden crown of victory. I'm really looking forward to handing it to George again on this contest. On that note, I'll say goodbye to everybody.
Sometimes your picks, I got to tell you, they make me love you.
Thanks, buddy.
That's for sure, man.
Thanks,
but great show. So next week, we're going to line these picks up. It's August the 15th, 16th. So do we do it next week or the week after? I say we do it next week, just before everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it'd be cheaper. I think it's 23rd than 30th.
This is an late August trend that I always talk about. Let's get it a week before the August ends.
All right, man. So thanks for another great show, Alan. By the way, I've got to disclose, I think I did earlier, but just to be clear, that I did buy Twitter earlier this week at 44.06. So I do have a conflict. Assume I'm horribly conflicted and that I'm trying to get all of you to mortgage your homes or to support my stock pick. So don't do it. Go out and talk to your finance, do all that stuff to make sure that I'm not this guy who's just trying to suck you in and take all your money out. Thanks, everyone. Have a great show, and we'll see you next time.
George, did you close it out? We had a little technical difficulties there. I'm not sure if George closed the show out, but you folks have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.